everybody. Welcome to yet another edition of Steel and Whiskey, where we just like to sit and talk a little bit about the steel industry, things we're doing here at SDS2, and drink a little whiskey in the process. And fortunately, unfortunately, depending on my associate, back for another round is Old Forester. So Old Forester was so outstanding last time, we thought we'd give it another go.
It is delicious.
It is very good.
This has made it into my home. This is going to be a staple.
So I'm Doug Evans.
I'm Michelle McCarthy, and we have James Schwartz here with us.
Hello.
Many of you probably know James. He's been with SDS2 for a little while. But James is the product owner for SDS2 Fortisea. And so we thought we'd have him on to talk a little bit about Fortisea, where it's been, where it's going, and let people know about some of the changes and some of the exciting things that are coming up with it, and talk about how some of the customers are using it now.
Yeah.
So to start off, we are changing the name of SDS2 Fortisea to SDS2 Load Planning. That'll take place at the beginning of 2021, and really the reason we're doing that is to provide you all with a better user experience and be in the places where people are searching for load planning solutions. So SDS2 Load Planning just makes sense.
There's that whiskey again.
Get tongue-tied, are you?
Anyway, so to move on, now that I've been tongue-tied, and we'll just go on from there. So James, why don't you tell us a little bit about where we're at right now?
Well, you know, we've come a long way in the past 2.5 years. I mean, it's been exposed to the public for a little while, for about 1.5 years. We've got a number of clients so far. A couple of things about it is we have been working diligently to implement things to allow revisions to happen, because we all know in the shop things change all the time. It's a reality that we have to deal with. The product is, funny, I just finished my 5-year plan on this product, and some of the things that we have, we are getting really close to making this basically scream. Basically, it's just moving.
And I might interject, because I'm going to jump out for those customers that know us and know the product, certainly know where we're at. But so SDS2 load planning, 3D load planning, takes a 3D BIM model, and then I can virtually load my trucks. So I can create trailers and load trucks off the model, and so I can create
a model
plan
that comes from any software, not just SDS2.
Yeah, from any software, and it's not even just within the structural steel industry. I was with a sales guy up in the Pacific Northwest, and they do glue lam, CLTs, and that's an industry that certainly can use this as well. So it's not just, it's just any IFC-based model can be used to load. So can be a lot of material, and we'll see that, I think, as the product evolves and grows. I think you'll see different material types for sure. But we're born in the steel industry, we like the steel industry, and so that's what we're good at.
And that's exactly where we started. We started off with the structural steel because that's what we know. Like you said, we're now working, you know, we get Tekla IFCs in, we get SDS2 IFCs in, so you're not bound by that box. We have CADWorks that comes in, which handles like what you were talking about with the glue lam and everything else. And, you know, this whole product is filling a need that people don't even know that they really had.
Yeah, no, it's I've been doing this for close to 30 years as well, and when the product came to my table in the sales world, of course, I go to industry and we show it a little bit. And I've been more excited about this product than I've in a long time, because when you went into the office, you say, hey, you know, nobody did load maps. Like, so nobody was doing what we're providing. Yeah, and so then you think just natively, well, is there value in it? Is there value to plan what I'm doing? Well, I think we've learned that over the years.
Well, you know, that's the whole thing about it, is having a plan.
Right.
You know, people wing it. I've always loved, I mean, the amount of money that people poured into their $1 million CNC machinery and everything else, or MRP products that they're using. And then it comes down to the truck loader after it pulls off paint, throws in the yard, and miraculously gets onto the trailer. And there's so much duplication and work that goes on there as well.
Yeah.
You know, creating these load lists and everything else. And the guy gets down and goes, okay, I got this list of stuff. And it's funny, because I heard a story from one of our salesmen who basically walked into the shop and said to the load planner, said, hey, if I gave you a map on how to load this trailer, would you like it? He's going, awesome. I'd love it. You know, so this is the reality. And part of it is, years ago, when I even started thinking about this whole product, I was talking to a guy on the phone, and I can't remember where it was, somewhere out in the West. But anyway, he was getting upset. And I'm like, what's the matter? You know, on the phone, I could tell he was getting agitated about something. I thought it was something I did, right? Which is not uncommon. But, you know, what happened is that he goes, no, I'm just sitting here looking at the window, watching him load and offload all that steel. I won't use the exact words. But, you know, and I thought, why don't you have something in 3D to do this?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And then I mentioned it to a couple of other big companies, and they're like, I don't know why we don't have that.
Yeah.
You know, that's the point.
Mm-hmm.
And so we're filling this need here that, like I said, sometimes people don't know it. And you know as well as I do, when it came to SDS2, when this product started, I hate to say how long ago, right? We remember those days, right? And you know, the whole thing is that it didn't just come off the shops because it was disruptive. It was new.
Mm-hmm.
It was
Yeah.
different. It was something that was,
Absolutely.
you know, not there. And I'll be honest, my story back when I started in '93 with SDS2, and I know I'm dating myself, see gray hair. But, you know, when it happened in '93, I looked at this product. I said to my boss, are you an idiot?
Yeah.
Okay, you know Maurice. It's
I know Maurice,
said,
absolutely.
Are you crazy? You know, you bought this product, you spent $100,000 on this product, you had mortgaged your house and everything else, and all it does is masters. You didn't even have anything. There was
Absolutely.
no 3D model.
Yeah, absolutely. It was just
You
2D
know?
drawings.
But those are visionaries, and that's what I'm looking for, is those visionaries, because this product is growing. I talked to people that saw it a year ago, and they look at it and they're like, this isn't even the same product. It's advanced so much.
Yeah.
Well, and I think some of the guys that are using it now, these early adopters of SDS2 4DC, are some of the visionaries for figuring out how to make their fabrication more efficient, and maybe using 4DC or SDS2 load planning, as it will be known,
Right. Yeah.
in ways that maybe we didn't even think of.
You're absolutely right. I'll give you a perfect example. Talking to Brian Boggs at Cobuilt, he was, he was so pumped. It was awesome. He's sitting there going, yeah, Jay's a loader in the shop, right? So he said, yeah, Jay actually now when it comes from paints, he actually cordons off the layers and they place the steel in each of those locations before they put it onto the trailer. So, I mean, he's just, you know, they're just so excited because they're just learning, and I'm learning what people think about this product.
I was in Georgia with the same experience. I walk into a fabricator, and it was within 5 minutes. The excitement just blew up because I had a loader and the guy, the project manager, and a shop foreman with me, and we were in the break room of the shop, and they all just calling people in because of what they go. Well, this is what we needed. You know, they were loading the shipping containers.
Right, and you know, I got a call from, actually Dirk knows this guy who's doing, you know, all those all those big things you see at these trade shows. Well, guess what? They're loading that stuff by AutoCAD right now. So people need these products. And again, you know, that's the whole thing, is that people see its potential, and you ask me where I'm at. Right now, I'm satisfying that initial need to be able to do everything that you can load manually onto a trailer. You need to be able to do that in the product. And we're getting really darn close to that. We're working on drop decks are coming in, and arbitrary rotation, which is free rotation, rotate any direction.
So, like, if you want to stack stairs kind of on
if you want something to sit like this, then you can on the trailer, because a lot of times you might have some big objects that have to sit like this on some racks, right? So these are some of the things that, you know, and that's going to be happening probably by soon. I don't like giving dates. Okay? Well, the thing about programming is, as you guys all know, there's always oh my goodness, I didn't see that.
Yeah, and an overnight success takes 10 years, right? People that think that everything's right the first time, they don't know the process of quality. So, I mean, one of the things that, and that, speaking to that, I'll talk at the sales end, that we missed. So we're talking about reduced material handling, and we're talking about loading efficiency, and that's the message we were going out there with. But really, some of these fabricators just want to be the best fabricator in their industry or in their region, and they want to help erectors, and they want to help, they want to help their internal shop, but they also want to help the people they're shipping it to.
Absolutely.
And it makes the whole process, it just makes them look so professional.
Right.
And
Customer
then all of a
service.
sudden the pricing comes down. When I'm working with this guy, I got that. And then that, referral and the word of mouth about how great these guys are. That's just a whole nother reason to do this, because no one else is doing it. And so I'm
It's
the
a
guy
value add to your business as a fabricator.
We actually, again, for the erector, I mean, and people know I worked on the erector stuff for a long time. So I was talking to Vince. Remember Vince?
Yeah, absolutely.
Who, worked with Can-Am. He's been an erector forever. And I kind of went through Fortisee, and I could just hear him light up on the whole thing, because I was going through offloading practices and everything else, what we need to do for that. And right now we send out an IFC model that the erector can open up on whatever IFC viewer he has, and they can go ahead and see that, hey, this piece of steel is here in the connected model. So
And-
we're putting tools in for what you were just talking
And
about.
to take that a little further and just navigating, it's still steel, but so in some of these worlds, we have a lot of big customers that do a lot of big projects, but there's also lots smaller projects where the guy in the field might be just having a socket set, right, and doesn't really know the world of steel that much. But having the ability, so if you're doing grain facilities for agriculture, if you're doing conveyors for coal or other things that maybe aren't just structural steel for commercial buildings and stadiums, you can actually explain to the people that are going to receive the steel on site, here's what I'm delivering, this top layer, maybe your columns, and located here in the model. And it's just stuff that blows them away because they may spend a day just trying to figure out what's on this load, like where it is,
Right.
where we graphically give it. So
Well, in some of those other industries too, you can do the modular where you assemble some of those pieces in the shop
Sure.
and ship those. And you've just added the ability in SCS2. I'm just going to call it load planning from here on out. But you've added that ability to create those assembled pieces just from the Fortescue model, right?
That's in the process of what we're doing right now. So that is coming in. Right, that we have the
said
drop
Fortescue,
deck
by the way.
rotation, and yes, you said.
I know. You caught me right
That
after I
is
said I
okay.
would
It's going
stop.
to take a while to get through that. What is it called? Interactive graphics in SCS2? Anyways, yes.
I remember.
IG.
Next.
But oh my goodness. But anyways, yeah, this is some of the things that is on the top list of the top 5 items that are being worked on. But I think I'm almost at that point where I'm really happy with where we're getting to in the direction that we have with this. And there's that communication aspect of going back and forth.
yeah,
This is what we have to develop is that. And the whole thing is, like I said, that whole area is just kind of this, it's all empirical. It's all done by gut feel. The guy loading the truck or gal or whoever loading the truck, I mean, and I'll be honest with you, they're experts. I've watched
They're outstanding,
some of these.
yeah, absolutely.
They're outstanding. So the thing I always like to express is, I need you. I'm giving you just a tool to do it.
Right.
I mean, that's
Right.
all we're doing is we're giving you a tool because how many of us walk around looking at things in 2D? And that's what you're looking at now.
Right.
But
You're
if
running
all the
around.
steel going out of your shop is dependent on one expert, how much risk are you at?
We call that the hit by the bus.
Right.
Right.
Yeah.
And that is a reality. And it's not just in loaders. I see that even in our staff and programming. You know, you get these silos of people that know it and they're the only ones who know it. I just remember one time there was one person like that, and unfortunately they ended up not being there the next day. And
Yeah.
just the impact on their shop was just enormous.
And So another way to look at this, I've spent a lot of time on planes over the years, and that jumble, right? The jumble where you got all the words or all the letters, but you don't know what the word is, right? So it's one way I look at it is, you might get a list, right? So I've got here, these materials equal 45,000 pounds. But how does it go on the truck? And so
Right.
that's the jumble, right? And so you have to spend all this time trying to figure out what the words are when we're really just giving you the words. We're giving you the key so you know what the words are, so you don't have to spend all that time.
What I like to see is the communication too. Like one particular company, and by the way, just to kind of mention something that Michelle mentioned earlier, is that there was one company, or is one company, that they didn't want anybody to know they had Fortescue.
Yeah.
And the reason they didn't want to have anybody know they had Fortescue because they saw it as a competitive edge
Yeah.
over their competition.
Well, and
So,
I have a customer who's a larger customer in his region that subs work out to his smaller fabricators in the area. He's loading the trucks for the smaller fabricators because he's got a standard of quality that he that wants to deliver. And so it's that control, again, that professionalism, best in class that he's trying to put across. And he didn't want to tell people that either, but these smaller fabricators get this map and they're like, wow, this is outstanding.
well, yeah, and it's good for the drivers. It's good for the galvanizer. I mean, I can see galvanizers buying this. How many times you send out one truck and you got to get 2 trailers just to bring the steel
Right.
back? You know, there's just a lot of potential that's here. And I had a driver at one time, and he was sitting in my class when I was training him, and he was just looking at it. Oh, this is awesome! I could sit here in my pajamas and I could look at this 3D model that they send to me because you can do a 2D or you can do a 3D. And he said, "Oh, I could just look at that and tell them whether or not their load is if I'm going to pull it or not, instead of standing there for 4 hours waiting for them to offload it And I mean, that's money, that's time, that's
Yeah,
money.
and that's a great example with galvanizers and sandblasters. If you're shipping it to those places,
Yeah.
if you had a map saying, here's how it showed up, this is how you can put it back on, they can save everybody time, money for sure.
One of the questions I was asked by was the detailers, like, well, how does this help us? It's like, I don't know. You know what? How many detailers 20 years ago thought that they would be doing all this work for FabControl and FabSuite, like Delta?
Yeah,
Right?
absolutely.
Never thought they would be doing that, right? But who is more intimate with a project than the detailer?
Yeah.
You know? So, hey, there's a business opportunity right there, I think.
Absolutely, absolutely. If you work really close with the shop foreman and how they're going to deliver the project, get the erector involved, and you can through SDS2, you can set order of erection, and so at the minimum they should be involved in that. But at the maximum, go ahead and get a Fortisee, develop those great relationships with those fabricators. You can load their trucks.
Right. Well, the thing is, you don't have to mortgage your house anymore to
Well, yeah,
to
no
get
kidding.
a
This
groundbreaking product, right?
Yeah, exactly. I still remember that they mortgaged their house to buy SDS2, and all it did was a stick model. Oh,
I
Thanks,
think it turned
Maurice.
out all right.
yeah, it did. It did.
And Gerard.
Thank you, Maurice and
Gerard.
all those other people, Ocean Steel,
Absolutely.
all those other people that had the vision to
Yeah.
do that, and yeah, definitely. So, any other questions?
Well, we've got the webinar coming up here for SDS2 load planning that we'll get some feedback from some of our customers as well. Are there any other just, wow, I didn't think of that, stories that you've heard as you've trained customers that have gotten on board with SDS2 load planning?
Well, I'll tell you, I learn a lot from the customers. But I always learn a lot from different people. There was, one of my older ones, favorite, and people may have heard it, was the loader went on vacation at one place. And when the loader went on vacation, they had to get some of the novice loaders on. So the foreman picked up Fortisee and started to, load the trailers and everything else, and sent the load map back out to the loaders, and they said, you know what, here's this communication I'm talking about. And they said, well, if we do this, we can fit a little bit more. Because, listen, sending a trailer can be very expensive. What is it, just from here to Grand Island, just to do the shields there? It was like $300 a trailer, but I've heard people say $10,000 a trailer if you're shipping from Alberta up to Alaska or something.
Right.
Correct.
There's a lot of money. Anyways, back to the story was that they went in and they loaded the trailer based off the load map, and they pulled it off to the scales to get away. And it was only an 80-pound difference. That load was perfectly centered. 80 pounds is nothing on a trailer. Right?
Yeah, absolutely.
And it was perfectly centered. And they were so excited that they sent me the actual weight, the scale, the scale. And they sent it out to me. Go, this was amazing. In fact, the foreman says that they wanted him to do all the loading now. He says, no, I don't have time to do all of that stuff. But, that was just kind of an interesting story. And like I talked about with Brian and Jay and some of those other people that worked with, and working with AmFab, and I guess I'm name dropping, but these are some of the people that are actually using it. And I get people like, well, who's using it? Yeah, there's quite a few people using it.
And it's one of the interesting. It's not always about getting it closest to capacity. The case where you're in a downtown area where there's no laydown,
Absolutely.
and they wanted to be able to just take the whole load off and put it inside the building. They didn't want the steel to be on the flanges. They wanted they wanted it on the web, or on the flanges, not the web.
Yeah, they want to rotate
Yeah,
it the other
so
way
they wanted a
around.
vertical. It's not the most secure load. They have to strap it down a little different and be a little tighter. But then if you think in the field to the erector, it's coming off the truck. They can put it down, and then they just grab and pick it up instead of doing this flip business.
Well, that's important, because there are some places like where, and I guess I won't say any names, but what they did was they have equipment in the shop that they can load. So they palletize it, this great big section of steel, so they can pile it up, use this forklift, lift the whole thing, and place it on the trailer. Well, that's great. But they also have to think about the guy who's offloading it too.
Absolutely.
So they had to go ahead and also build a provision, because on the field they weren't able to pull the whole thing. So again, it's getting people to think about, okay, I might be able to load it this way, but how am I going to offload it as well? And what equipment's going to be available? These are some of the things. You don't want to tip a load. People die from that. Some of the things we didn't mention is, of course, the handling, but because the mouse is a heck of a lot cheaper, as I always say, than a 10,000-pound column, right? And you can take it on and off instead of just plopping it in there. But you got safety when you're offloading. If you have something that's hooked, for example, and that whole load tips on top. I remember hearing about a bunch of guys got killed. unstrapped the load, and really not funny. They unstrapped the load, and then when they started to pull, there was a guy on the other side. The whole load fell on top of him. That's a lot of steel. He didn't look very good, you know. So I mean, safety is also extremely important.
Absolutely. You know, and the shipping container thing was interesting to me as well. You know, when it goes to ports of entry, they want to know exactly what's in it, and they want to be able to load it as much. And if you can provide visual evidence, it can maybe get through those ports quicker. And
Well, people provide pictures, but if I take a picture of an outside of the trailer, how do I know what's really on it? You know, and that's the point. It just says, hey, here's a trailer with steel on it. See, now with Fortisea, I can go through and I can find members. This is what I think, you know, the tools that I'm putting in there, these are valuable tools. So I can go through and I get a call, it's like I need B_25 or whatever, 1B1, okay? And I can go in there and I can say find 1B1. It goes and opens up the trailer, shows you exactly where it's located on the trailer.
Yeah.
Okay? Revision control. I've got my trailer loaded. I get an update in the model because we all know we get updates all the time, right? And the system goes through and says, oh, here it is on this trailer. Here's a list of what it is that has to change. And you know exactly where it is to fix.
So it's like find my iPhone for a 1B1.
Find your iPhone. There you go. That's exactly
the erector can't call and say, hey, you didn't give me this piece.
Of course they can if the guy didn't load in the shop. There's always that. But the reality is at least there's more evidence. So you're not sitting there going, did he really load it? You know, I mean, you actually have that information. What else did I have there with somebody was talking? Oh, this was an interesting story. One guy had his, trying to word it the exact way that he kind of had it, but basically what happened is, in short, Fortisea helped him to find a member that the EMP that they were, the MRP product that they were using missed. So it's actually by verifying with Fortisea, he found something that was wrong in his estimate, not his estimate, but his MRP product.
Redundancy is always powerful, for sure.
So I've got a question for you.
Yeah.
Because I've got someone that was trying out SCS2 load planning. And
you're getting better at it. You're getting better. Another drink.
I'm going to say it enough to make sure that you guys start too. But you know, he was trying it out, just trying to get his head wrapped around it, and he's like, well, I'm struggling to figure out how to get an idea of what's actually available, what's fabricated and available to load.
Yeah, that is a big
So what
issue.
would you say to someone that's trying to figure out, where do you start when you're trying to figure that part out?
Well, you know, it depends on what's going on. If you have it set in your model on what's fabricated and you're importing it, that data all that metadata that's attached to that member comes across. So this is one of the things, and this is, by the way, you can send information from Fortisea. You're not bottlenecked. You can send that into like CMK Load Planner, or you can send this out into EMP, Techly EMP, and then you can push that to the model, right? I always make sure I didn't say it right. EPM. Yes, I'm thinking electromagnetic pulse.
That's what I was saying.
I saw your smirk and it gave it away. But yeah, no, it's got a big bang. Anyway, so what happens is you can push this data across. One of the things that is on my plate as well is to be able to take that data and populate the model. Because one of the things that we added in fairly recently is the ability to add properties to the actual model. So for example, if you want to come in and let's say you've got a whole model that comes in, there's no sequences, and you're talking to the erector and he goes, well, here's the sequences you want. You can go ahead and you can sequence that in the model. This is some of the new stuff that's
You don't have to wait for someone else to tell you that or give you a different model. You can just, this is the first sequence, this is the second, and just go.
And in the case Michelle said, they want to know what's fabricated, I would argue that you should load your truck and then schedule your fabrication based off how you're going to load your truck.
I agree.
That's the goal.
That is the goal.
That is what we call a plan.
Right.
We all want to go to that direction, is basically fabricate based off a truckload. But you got to also understand it is a process to get there.
Right. This is why SCS2 load planning is disruptive.
Correct.
It's disrupting the traditional thinking that fabricators have that's, hey, it's done, put it on a truck. So how do we help people get to the next level of thinking, of like getting there to adjust your shop?
And that's why I'm talking about the properties, because the properties, next thing we do is you take from your EPM product, your MRP product. I am so sorry. And I don't even drink. You know what? This is water, okay? What happens is that maybe I should be drinking this.
It helps.
It helps, right? But my point being is that now we just take that information and bring it in and update because we have that property capability. So
Yeah.
that is actually part of it's in that list, the plan. I mean, what excites me about this is that this is a worldwide product and the sky's the limit. We've never had such an open
Yeah.
playing field for years. You know?
And with that, so I don't want to give too much information away because we want you to call and get the product. So with that, I think we're wrapping up
Yeah.
another edition of Steel and Whiskey. You can tell we're excited about it, and we are. I mean, it's not just putting a face to the and some enthusiasm to for the podcast, but it's something that we've been in this industry a while, and we really think that we got something here, and and if you use it and figure it out, you're going to love it too. So.
There's a ton of potential, and
yeah.
I would say, don't be the last one using this.
Yeah, that's the salesman.
I kind of say it a little different. I basically say you're all going to get
So-
it. It's just a matter of time.
James, thanks for coming and sharing some time with Michelle and I over whiskey and your water.
Cheers.
And obviously your enthusiasm is seen. So everybody, thanks for watching. Hope we didn't
Yeah.
bore you and you got a little out of this. So,
Thank you all. Doug,
Later.
I beat you again.
Yep. Cheers.
Cheers.